Kamakura is a seaside town in Japan, just 1 hour by train from Tokyo. A former medieval capital, it's packed with historical landmarks, lovely walks and a beach with views of Mount Fuji. As such, it's become a popular day trip, and in this video I'll show you how to make the most of a visit, including not just seeing the cultural highlights, but recommendations for a tasty lunch, a great cup of coffee, and even a cool retro gaming shop. Everything you need to know right here. Now, plentiful trains in Japan means there's loads of different routes to Kamakura, but one of the fastest and most direct is to take the Yokosuka line towards Zushi on a local service. This train passes through Tokyo Station, stop J019, continues past Yokohama, and takes you direct to Kamakura, stop J07, taking just 1 hour from the capital and costing around 950 yen each way. That's around $6 or £5, a bargain. Note that some trains do stop midway though, and you may need to cross the platform to board another. I arrived close to lunchtime, so a quick but tasty meal was on my agenda. I took the east exit from the station and turned left onto Komachi Street, and that's the main shopping area, which, like Asakusa in Tokyo or Kyoto itself, is packed with all manner of snacks to tempt tourists. But resist and keep walking, and after a minute or two take the first major left, heading back towards the railway line. You'll pass 27 coffee roasters, which is a solid option if you want to sit inside, although I've got a better place for you in just a moment. So keep walking until you reach the railway level crossing, and on your left you'll see Takoyaki Restaurant, open from 11 AM on Wednesdays to Sundays. Takoyaki are pancake balls typically stuffed with octopus, and they sell them here, obviously, but I was after the restaurant's other speciality, okonomiyaki, a larger savoury pancake typically stuffed with noodles and cabbage. I went for the seaweed and spring onion option from the menu, a great vegetarian meal which cost 950 yen and was absolutely delicious. Oh, and a really useful Japanese phrase to learn is kore o kudasai, which means that please, and works a treat when pointing at pretty much anything that you're after in a shop or a restaurant. Feeling suitably refueled, I returned to Komachi Street, turned left, and headed up to my first cultural stop of the day, Yukinoshita, home to Tsurugaoka Hachimangu. This is a Shinto shrine with a traditional large red torii gate at the entrance. As you pass through the torii gate, be sure to explore the areas to the side around a lovely lake setting, before heading up the steps to the shrine itself. Here you'll see visitors hanging wishes and prayers on small wooden plaques, and there's also a nice walk behind the shrine through a series of smaller gates. My next stops were the Buddhist temples on the other side of town, so to set me up for an afternoon of sightseeing, I headed to nearby Ignis, an excellent specialty coffee stand just a couple of minutes from Kamakura railway station, and that's on the main road. This is mainly a takeout spot, but there are benches outside if you prefer a seat, and the coffee is superb. If you're interested in detailed reviews of the best coffee spots in Japan, do check out my dedicated coffee channel, which I'll link to in the description. Now at this point, you either have the choice to stroll through the town for about half an hour, or catch the cute Enoden electric train from Kamakura Station. Now this has become a social media star in its own right, and there's lots of opportunities to spot it as you walk through the town. I decided to walk to the temples, plotting a route that included a number of level crossings to spot the train, and then catching the train all the way back at the end of the day. My first destination on foot would be Hasedera, a Buddhist temple and gardens dating from the 8th century. Entry costs 400 yen, and like all Buddhist temples, you should wear suitable clothing. It's a very pleasant stroll up and through the gardens with some commanding views of the Kamakura coastline. But there's another important temple to visit, so after an enjoyable wander around Hasedera, I headed towards Kotoku Inn to visit the famous bronze Buddha. It's only a few minutes away from Hasedera on foot, and en route are more cute shops. Indeed, my eye was caught by Retro Games B-Dash, a fairly new vintage gaming shop specialising in Nintendo platforms. I realised it was a little contradictory to acquire more possessions en route to visit the Buddha, but the selection and prices here are so good compared to the hard-off shops in the capital, and I admit I did pick up a handful of cartridges and an original Game Boy. Okay, now for the more serious business of Kotoku Inn, home to a monumental bronze Buddha in the seating position. Dating from 1252, the statue measures an impressive 13 metres or about 44 feet tall, and manages to be both an imposing and peaceful presence. Now there's not as much to see around the statue as the extensive gardens of Hasedera, but the Buddha is a spectacular sight and well worth the 300 yen entry fee. At this point it was late afternoon and I still wanted to visit the beach. It's possible to jump onto the Enoden railway for a couple of stops, or to stroll along the coastal road for about 45 minutes, and since the weather was so nice, I decided to walk. As you turn around the peninsula about halfway, you'll see Shichirigama Beach ahead, and if the conditions are right, you may also spot Mount Fuji in the distance. The beach is a popular stop for locals and tourists alike, and you can even surf here. As the crowds gathered for a beautiful sunset, the unmistakable outline of Mount Fuji became more visible, completing what was a very enjoyable day of sightseeing. But there's time for one last treat, a ride on the Enoden electric train which I caught from nearby Shichirigama station. If you've got more time, you could continue your journey westwards to Enoshima, but Tokyo was calling, so I boarded the eastbound train back to Kamakura, which cost 260 yen one way and took about 20 minutes. It's a lovely ride with views of the coast as you head back into town. So all in all, an excellent day trip from Tokyo, and one that I'd highly recommend for any visitors. And if you've got another extra day spare, I can also recommend a day trip to Nikko, and I've got a separate video all about how to do that. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'd love if you get the chance to check out some more of my other travel videos here, and please do consider following my channel for more tips, it really helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.